Hi there guys, and welcome to Eerie Earth Tours. I'm your tour guide Kieran. Today we're going to be walking from Princess Street Gardens all the way down to Dean Village over in the new town. So come with me and we'll enjoy this walk to Dean Village. This is Rose Street, called Rose Street because back in the 1800s this is where all the brothels used to be, and the ladies of the night, or the prostitutes who used to work at brothels, were known as the Roses of Edinburgh. Therefore, why we call this street Rose Street. Just opposite Rose Street we have this building here. This is actually the birthplace of Alexander Graham Bell. Now, Alexander Graham Bell is obviously the inventor of the telephone, born here 3rd of March 1857. So this is something that a lot of people might miss as they're coming along Charlotte Street here. It's something to always look out for. But we're going to make our way over to Charlotte Square. And Charlotte Square is a very important place for Scottish politics, I suppose. If you like, just to show you Charlotte Square, very important place for Scottish politics, because just over there on the other side of the square, just point it out, you can see those fantastic Georgian buildings off in the distance. That is the Scottish equivalent of our White House. That is where our First Minister is said to live. It's just over there on the other side of Charlotte Square, where we are. But we're going to make our way to the other side of Charlotte Square, and we're going to pass all these fantastic Georgian buildings here. So the new town was built in the mid-1760s, around about 1767 is when they started building it. And the reason was Edinburgh was a very small city at the time, and they wanted to expand because the population of Edinburgh was growing from 40,000, and it was just getting bigger because people kept wanting to have babies. So they needed to have space for these people to live. So they expanded to the north, creating a new town. But of course this was in the start of the Georgian era, so they wanted to make sure that the buildings looked very nice to kind of coincide with it. That's why all the buildings look the way they do. And then over here we have just the end of Princess Street. But we're going to head over this way, make over our way across the crossing nice and safely. One thing I will note is these marks on the wall. Now I've done a short on these before, I think on my Instagram. These marks are actual old scratch marks from matches where people used to light their cigarettes. So they would have big thick bits of wood with the sulphur on top, and they would come along and they would scrape it along the wall to light this match. They would then light their cigarettes. So it might just look like graffiti, but it's not. It's old history staring at you. So this is Dean Bridge. This was built by Thomas Telford in 1832. Thomas Telford is the same guy who built the aqueduct that Hogwarts Express travels over, which is further up north into the Highlands. He built the same bridge. We'll get an idea of when we go into Dean Village to get an idea of why he built that aqueduct, pardon, and how similar Deansbridge is to the aqueduct, which is quite interesting itself. And then we have this house here. This is Kirriemuir House. This was built originally as an inn for people who work, bakers who work at the watermills down in Deansbridge. This was a place that they would come to stop on their way down to the watermills. So it worked as an inn. It was then taken over by James Cabby Stewart, who used to run horse-drawn carts from this house for about 60 years. When he took over this building, he actually rebuilt the inside of it. And when he rebuilt the inside of it, James Stewart was known to be very eccentric, and it said that he built loads of staircases that led to all the different floors, but there was more staircases that were actually needed for the house. And it said that there's even a little minstrel's court inside of this building that is only big enough for children to fit in. And it's called Kirriemuir House. We're going to start making our way down now Bellsbrae as it leads into Dean Village. A little bit of a steep hill down into the village itself. This was essentially an old car park. I say car park, I should rephrase that as a cart park. So it's where the horses and carts would actually park here. And you can see this stand here. This is actually where horses used to be tied up to while they were waiting. You can actually head over. You can still see the bits of metal here that the horses would have actually been tied to while they were waiting. Now it's a very, very fancy house, which is a little bit of a contrast to what it was actually would have looked like back in the day. But if you've come on a tour of Edinburgh before, you would have heard about things called toll booths. Now toll booths are essentially tax offices, and this building here was Dean Village's toll booth. And if you have a look at the very top, you can actually see the bell. Now toll booth is also a prison, so sometimes people would have been held here, and it would have been a prison as well for people. Essentially, it would have been held here for petty crimes, but mostly it was paid for, it was used as a tax office. That was the sole purpose, so the people of Dean Village could go and pay their taxes. And now it's fancy apartments. I wonder whether or not the people who live here know that this used to be a toll booth. This is Bellsbrae House. This was actually a 17th century merchant's house, and you can kind of see that with the depictions on the top. Right up until 1945, this house had actually been abandoned, and it was then turned into a family home, and it's now flats. You can see that by the carvings here that used to be merchants where they used to sell all manner of things, from bread all the way up to hay, or wheat rather I should say. But it sits right in the waters of Leith. We're going to make our way down here to probably the most picturesque area of Dean Village, where a lot of people come to get all their Instagram photos. But you can see here we've got the brae here, Bellsbrae, and very picturesque, very beautiful. And we have the old buildings here, which is an old watermill. You can actually see the archways there. That's where the water wheels would have gone for them to make the bread. And you've actually got down there is a man-made waterfall, and that waterfall would then be fed down to the water wheels to make the bread. Head of this little centre. If we go through Dean Village here, we have the Edinburgh School Board building. This is the school of Dean Village. And we actually have a depiction here of St. Margaret. Now, St. Margaret, she was the mother of David I, and he built St. Margaret's Chapel in the castle. So this is a picture of her giving education. Now there's actually a strange anomaly within this carving. If you have a look at the carving in the wall there, you'll actually see there's a globe there. But of course, the Victorians at the time thought that the world was flat. So why would there be a globe? It doesn't make sense, because they thought the world was flat. Obviously we know now it's not, but back then they thought so. We're just going to carry on through Dean Village here, down to this building here. So this is Well Court. This was built by Sir John Finlay to make social housing easier for the workers here in Dean Village. And it's basically tenement houses but on a smaller scale, where people would live all together, all in one place, and it would allow that workers to all be able to get to the work nice and easily. And it was commissioned in such a way that they wouldn't have front doors on the buildings to allow fresh air to go through the buildings, because Edinburgh was a very smelly, dirty place at the time. They wanted to make sure that the people living here actually got a pretty nice life compared to the people who were living in the old town. Quite fast flowing river today. Lots of rain recently. As you can see, it's a little piece of countryside here in Edinburgh City, which is unusual to see. So all this water is coming down from a weir, or a man-made dam, which controls the amount of water that comes down. And this would be for the water wheels. This would be to make sure there's enough water being supplied to the mills in order to make the bread. But it's absolutely gorgeous. Little duck flying past. Obviously we've got these houses here. We don't really want to film too much of the houses, but it'd be quite nice to have a house looking down onto this river, wouldn't it? It'd be lovely. Oh wow, the water is really gushing. Hey. We're now going to make our way down to St. Bernard's Well. And then we make our way and we see Dean Bridge in front of us. Now, like I mentioned when we were at the top, this was built by Thomas Telford in 1832. He was the guy who made the aqueduct that the Hogwarts Express would ride over. You can kind of see why he was tasked with making this, because it does look an awful lot like an aqueduct. Cue your Monty Python quotes here, but you can kind of understand why it would be with large, big archways. This is Miller Row. Just enjoying the walk. This is St Bernard's Well. Now, the water in Dean Village was not only used to power the mills, it was also where people would drink this water. They would also wash in this water, but as I'm sure you can imagine, it wouldn't be very clean. But the rich people who are living here in Dean Village would come here to Bernard's Well. Here they would actually go inside this door, and inside here would be a pump, and they would use this pump to pump out the water. It would be relatively clean water because it would be good enough for them to drink. But this is also where they would hang out. They would come in here and they would just hang out. Men would come here, drink, that sort of thing. And the whole area in there is covered in a massive mosaic. Apparently it's meant to be very beautiful inside. Unfortunately, they only open the doors once. The community of Dean Village only open the doors once for people to go inside. Okay, we are now going to leave Dean Village and we're going to head up to the Stockbridge area of Edinburgh. This is Stockbridge. Every Sunday there's a marketplace here where you can buy all manners of things, from foods, clothes, all sorts of things, and it happens right here in the square Baker's Place. So if you're down here on a Sunday, I do recommend coming here. And then we come to Circus Lane. This is one of, or maybe the most Instagrammed and photograph streets in the whole of Edinburgh, next to, of course, Victoria Street. Okay guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video, this walk from Princes Street Gardens all the way down to Dean Village and Stockbridge. If you did enjoy this video, then please consider subscribing. Any support you guys can give for the channel would be very much appreciated. If you would like to book a tour with Eerie Earth Tours, head over to eerieearth.com and you can find out more information there. But guys, thanks so much for watching. Bye bye.